He was happy thinking that he could kill as many people as he wanted. His body was covered in blood from the people he had killed. He raised his dagger at the remaining people and threatened to kill them if they did not vote for him. The people wore frightening expressions. He wore a devilish smile, thinking that the people would vote for him now because of the fear of what he might do to them. And if he could become a representative in that way, his first target would be Blackside. He planned to kill him so that he could become rank 1. Meanwhile, Ryuman continued to swing his side in the forest to grow stronger. The notification window showed that he had defeated Noel. His current kill count was at 265 over 100. All stats had increased by 100% due to the effect of the Butcher rune. With this, the 3 times experience buff was also applied. He has leveled up. His current level is 16. He looked at his status windows and commented on how he was still barely level 16. He realized that his leveling rate was slower now that he was at a higher level. Even though he had killed over 205 in the past 2 hours, he had barely leveled up 6 times. But it's not all bad because hunting has become easier. But this is as expected because he has both the Reaper rune and the Butcher rune. Because of that, his weapon attack and stats are oval. He declared it was time to go back. He put down his weapon and turned back. The timer hit 0 and the notification window showed that voting time had arrived. Ryuman's laughter was engulfed in golden light. This was a signal that the players in the region were being summoned to the starting area to vote. The time for voting had arrived. The players in the region were summoned to the starting area. The 4 injured men who had fought Blackside had been returned to the starting area. Their damaged state shocked the other players. Then Aran arrived with Sanchul and other players. They were stunned by what they saw upon their arrival. Several banks of players were scattered on the ground. They asked what happened. Oren assumed that the man standing there, covered in blood, was the culprit. Ryumi noticed that Shu Jiangshik seemed to have won again. Shu Jiangshik was the boss of the Jiangshik gang and was the second best fighter in the district. It was a shame because his personality was trash. Jiangshik looked at him with a terrifying expression, especially with all the blood stains on his face and body. Ryumi decided it was better to stop a ticking time bomb before it exploded. She looked back at him and decided that it wasn't the right time yet. Jiangshik slowly approached her and asked where she had been while she was waiting for him. Oren and Sanchul turned to Blackside. Blackside weakly asked Jiangshik what he wanted from him. Jiangshik answered like a monk. Jiangshik, with a sullen face, directly told Blackside to be his servant. Blackside replied, "Servant." Jiangshik swung his dagger while answering that he would spare Blackside's life if he obeyed. He was stunned when he heard laughter in response. Blackside asked him if he wanted to start fighting now. Blackside glared at him and told him to come forward, that he should come forward and beg, and that was the only way he could get her out unharmed. This prompted Jiangshik to label Blackside as a crazy bastard. He accused him of not understanding the gravity of the situation. Jiangshik continued to speak, but was interrupted midway by Blackside, asking if he was having trouble understanding what was being said. Blackside pulled out his weapon and asked if he could see the mask and die there. Jiangshik was caught by Blackside's weapon. He was trapped inside and wondered where he got the weapon. He started to regret bothering him. Blackside, as if Jiangshik had cornered him, asked what was wrong with him. He followed this up by saying, "Is your tongue bitten?" Jiangshik was furious. Then he proudly introduced himself as Jiangshik, the boss of the Jiangshik gang. He asked Blackside if he thought he would kneel before anyone. In the throes of his emotions, he carelessly let his feelings out and taunted Blackside to attack with his fancy weapon. Blackside grinned in response. He noticed that Jiangshik's patience was short as usual. He decided to stop teasing him, as it would be complicated when he showed his strength and won the players' votes. His plan was to make Jiangshik a representative so that he could use him in the 3rd round. Moreover, the angel was about to appear at any moment, and at the right moment, the angel appeared and confirmed that everyone had typed. Jiangshik turned around. Blackside told him that he was lucky. As Blackside was about to leave, he gave Jiangshik advice to be sure who to challenge next if he didn't want to die early. Jiangshik stood there as if frozen. He was furious, and at the same time he felt like a fool. He was acting brave, but deep down he thought he was going to have a heart attack. He let Blackside go for now, but he promised that Blackside would see his power later. If he were to be the representative, he would avenge himself for the shame. The angel asked the people if they had decided on their representatives. The angel noticed the corpses and commented that they had done more than enough discussion in the 3 hours they had. And he reiterated that it was none of his business whether the scumbags died or not, and then he asked them if they should continue with the scheduled vote. Each player has a screen open in front of them. With this, voting for the region representative begins. Each player can cast 1 vote, and the player with the most votes is the region representative. They just need to look at the person they want to vote for, and players who don't vote within the 5-minute limit will be eliminated from the round and die. The timer for voting has started. A player repeated the instruction, "Look at who you want to vote for." As they looked around, their eyes fell on someone. Most of the players were staring at Jang-sik with a sullen expression on his face, as he was confident that everyone was looking at him, and he was suddenly surprised. He pointed at a woman and called her Chubby Cheeks Tim Bond. The woman was shocked and confused. She was angry that he wasn't looking at her. He threatened to kill her. The woman defensively told him that she voted for him. Jang-sik inspected his surroundings while shouting threats at the people. He watched every move and shouted to find the person who had his back turned. And finally, the voting was over. The angel announced that time was up, and he told them that none of them were stupid enough to try to skip the vote. He clapped his hands as he invited them to count the votes. A large screen appeared with the voting results. Cute Baby Bird was in 5th place with 5 votes. Chubby Cheeks Tinbon followed with 6 votes. In 3rd place was Black Dragon in my right with 240 votes. Next was Black Side with 2,077 votes. And the 1st place was Life as a Documentary with 2,412 votes. Jang-sik came in 1st place, but he wasn't happy with the number of votes he had. Furthermore, Black Side was ranked 2nd place. He looked at several players with anger, and those players tried to avoid meeting his eyes. He was angry that they didn't vote for him and chose Black Side instead. The angel ended the voting and announced Life as a Documentary as the laughingstock of the region. Because of that, the angel gave him the authority to command so that he could command the people around him. A window screen showed that he had become the laughingstock of the region, and he had obtained the authority of command. This put a wide smile on Cho Jung-sik's blood-red face. He planned to make Blackside regret not killing him by ordering everyone to come together to kill Blackside. He noticed something on the screen. It showed that the authority command showed that he could issue orders to the players and forcibly control them. The captured players cannot return the command at any time. He can only use the skill 10 times. He can only command 1 player at a time, and the skill does not work on players with a class. It seems that he is frustrated with the conditions, especially since players with a class can ignore his commands. Angel asked people if they thought they were done after voting, but that wasn't the case because there was a hidden quest in that round. The players didn't understand what Angel meant. The second round was a sub-quest, a window screen showing that they should get an advancement item and a class. And they will receive a 50% discount voucher for that item if they succeed. Sanchul and Aran seem confused about what an advancement item or class is. The angel informs them that the quest window is set to pop up like that at level 10. A player asked how they could level up without monsters. Angel's expression was sad as he answered them that the forest was full of monsters. Angel told them not to be sad because there were only 80,000 people in all regions who had advanced to a class this round. And he also announced that someone in their region had received an advancement class. The players wondered who it was. They were even more hyped when Angel asked if they should check the results of the sub-quest to find out. A large screen displayed the results of the second round sub-quest. It showed all the regions, and number 1 was Blackside, a level 16 Reaper, followed by Heavenly Demon, a level 10 Dark Knight. And in 3rd place was Stupid Idiots, a level 10 Shaman. And in their region, Blackside was the only one with a class. There was a hint of fear among the players when they learned that Blackside was the first to advance and that he was the only one in their region. And on top of that, his class was a Reaper. They stared at him as they gossiped about his class. And one player thought that maybe this was the reason why he had a side earlier. Jang-sik was very angry that he would lose the opportunity to command Blackside because he already had a class. He thought about how unexpected the timing was. The angel announced that in the second round, ranks would be awarded in order of who completed the sub-quest the fastest. He looked at the board to announce who had changed classes in their region. Blackside, and not only that, but he was also the first place in all the regions. He was impressed by this. He even commented on how awesome his class was, and his nickname even matched it. He asked him how he came up with such a nickname. He proceeded to investigate further, asking him if he had ever obtained the Reaper class before. Ryman casually replied that he didn't know he could obtain a class that fit his nickname. The angel suggested the idea that becoming a Reaper was perhaps a destiny. Ryuman replied with, "Oh," in the back of his mind as he observed that the angels didn't know how the Reaper class was obtained. All they knew was that it was a unique class. The angel asked if it was fate, and he expressed how interesting it was. He continued that he didn't expect that there would be only one person in the region who would change classes. And he explained that he was the only one who would not be affected by the authority command. The players asked him what he meant when he said that Blackside would not be affected by the authority command. The angel wondered if he should continue explaining to everyone, but he told them about this. The authority command did not apply to people with a class. In other words, the laughingstock of the region could not order Blackside to do whatever he wanted. Also, there were only 10 chances to use the authority command. So even if one was designated as a laughingstock of the region, it didn't mean that he had infinite power. The players understood his explanation, but the explanation angered Cho Jong-si. He didn't want others to know the conditions of authority. And then the angel asked if they should reward Blackside, who got his class the fastest. He snapped his fingers. 2 window screens appeared. The first one showed a message congratulating him for completing the quest as rank 1 in the region, and the second was a congratulatory message for ranking first in all regions. Ryumin touched the screen to claim his rewards. For being first in the region, he received a low-rank rare armor, and for being the first in all regions, he received a special award. He was prompted to choose one from a list of rare pieces of armor. There was the medieval knight's armor, the expert hunter's leather armor, and the mage's rogue. He already knew what to choose. The first option was too heavy, and the third was almost useless when it came to defense, so he chose the second option, which was the expert hunter's leather armor. And then he was instructed to choose one from the list of special rewards. The options were 3 experience buffs kept for the third round, 3,000 gold, and information on the third round. He based his decision on the knowledge that there would be a lot of monsters in the third round, so the obvious choice was the 3 times EXP buff. The angel announced that the prizes had been distributed. Ryumin's body was glowing gold and the other players. The angel announced that everyone could go home, and before they teleported away, the angel informed them that the third round would be really fun. And while there were evil smiles, he told them that he promised them this. The big screen showed the results of round 2. Across all regions, there were only 873,500,205 survivors. And in the current region, ESC's 45-5, there were 4,178 survivors. There were other announcements such as, the soul will be transferred to the body in the real world, and on March 1, 2023, the next round will begin. The message ended with congratulations to the players who survived. And immediately, a hand suddenly reached out. Young-min was the one who suddenly got up from his bed and screamed. He looked at his hand and was shocked to see that it was still intact. He felt a strange sensation as if his arm was still holding on. He hoped that as long as he didn't die, he would return with a normal body. And then his expression changed to despair. He vowed to never speak to Black Sail again or get involved in anything related to him. Sanchol praised Oren for his hard work. Oren protested that he had done nothing and that he was the one who had really worked hard. He faced him with a bright smile on his face and thanked him. Sanchol seemed uncomfortable as he fell silent, looked away, and adjusted his tie. He replied that it was something expected of him as his manager and bodyguard. Oren told him that he wanted to thank Black Sail again and asked him if there was a way to do so. He explained that since they didn't know his true identity, they had no way to find him. He also noticed that Blackside wanted to hide his true identity. Oren asked how he could say that he didn't want his identity to be revealed. Sanchol explained that he found out about this when he asked for his account number to pay him, but judging by the method, he immediately refused. Blackside knew that his real identity could be traced to the public through the account number. Oren understood but was not happy. Sanchol suggested that if he really wanted to show his gratitude, he should find him in the next round and give him an item. The suggestion cheered Oren up. Oren declared that it was a good idea. He started thinking about how to pay him properly. Their conversation ended when Sanchol told him to rest, and they would meet in the morning. He told him to be careful. Sanchol was about to board the elevator when his phone rang. He entered the elevator and answered President Ma's call. Sanchol noticed that the president was not yet asleep. President Ma admitted that he drank whiskey after he returned. Sanchol congratulated him on changing to the Dark Knight. President Ma asked about what was happening in their region. Sanchol reported that he and Aren had only reached level 8, because halfway through, they were injured. They could no longer control. President Ma replied, injured. Sanchol arrived at the parking lot and admitted that he would report about the incident. And he asked if this was a good time to talk about it. He mentioned that it was related to Blackside. President Ma told him to come to the hotel because he would prefer to hear it in person. Sanchol told him that he would be ready in 20 minutes. Sanchol got into his car without realizing that a man had spied on him. The man watched his car leave the parking lot. The man who spoke to him was Ryumin. Ryumin wondered if Sanchol was on his way to Mag-Yong-Lok. 10 minutes ago, Ryuhan was sleeping while sitting on the bed, and Ryumin was looking at his stat window. The screen showed that he had to think of the target he wanted to track. He described Sanshol and announced his name. The screen window showed that the name and face had been matched, and tracking the target's location had begun. And then, the window showed that the target's location had been found, and he was 9 meters away. Ryaman noticed that he was quite close and wondered if he was in the penthouse. Suddenly, the location became 23 meters away, then 56 meters away. He noticed the change in location, and judging by the way the clothes were changing, he assumed that Sanshol had boarded the elevator. He was wondering where he would be going in the early morning, and he entertained the possibility that it might be heading to Mag Yonglok's location. He immediately put on his jacket and headed straight for the door to confirm his suspicions. He appreciated how good it was that he decided to follow him as soon as he returned. The entire moon is covered by clouds. This prevents the moonlight from shining. Mag Yonglok appreciates the sky as he thinks that this is the perfect night to chase someone. He decided to bear with it for now because he had to listen to the report first. He thought of Blackside and wondered what kind of player wouldn't recognize him when he was someone who had achieved rank 1 in the first and second rounds. He tapped his toe on the sofa as he felt uncomfortable with the news regarding rank 1. He began to form assumptions like Blackside had started a fight with his subordinate. If that was the case, he knew he wouldn't just stay silent because the trouble in his right hand was already challenging him. He wore a serious expression on his face as he thought that he wouldn't let anyone get in his way, even though that person was rank 1. That's all for today, guys. See you on the next upload.